Today I'm going to show you how to get one of these and how getting one of these will help you make more sales and make more money with your KDP no content and low content books. Now, if you've not been here before, my name is Marles and I do videos on how to make it, keep it and grow it, and that's your money I'm talking about. And if you do like videos like that, then please do give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button and smash that notification bell to receive notification of when I produce more videos like this. So if we go to an Amazon page, and I've done a search here for unicorn activity book because I recently did a video about this niche, and it is littered with books that have this little orange bestsellers badge. So if we scroll down and have a look, these are what they are, and you've probably seen these before when you've been searching yourself on Amazon. Now, why would you want one of these little bestsellers badges? Well, they can help you increase sales of your books. And how do they do that? Well, one, they are thought to give you some benefit in terms of the Amazon search algorithm, so that with one of these badges it will help push your book up the rankings. And so if your book then appears on page 1 or even higher up on page 1, you're more likely to make more sales. And the other thing is, when customers are browsing, searching on Amazon, and they're just scrolling down, these books with the little bestsellers badge will catch their eye, and it's also a bit of social proof. So if they know it's a bestseller, they'll be instantly attracted to that particular book, and if they're attracted to it and click on it, you've got more chance of making a sale. So overall, with one of these little badges, you've got more chance of making money with your books, which is not a bad thing. So how do books get one of these rankings? Well, if we take a look at these collection of books here, we'll see that they all have a bestsellers rank. You can see these books here. We've got 4,000, 8,000, 1,500 and 170. However, I've got a little Chrome plugin installed called DS Amazon Quick View, and with that, not only do we get this information at the bottom of a listing, but if I was to hover over a book, we'd see that not only do we get the bestsellers rank overall, but we also get these rankings of the book in their particular category. Now, if you remember, when you go to your KDP platform and publish a book, when you scroll down, you eventually come to the categories section, and you click on the choose categories, and you've got this expandable menu, and you're allowed to pick 2 categories. And normally you would go through and pick 2 categories that seem the most appropriate to your book. And there's nothing wrong with that. So when we hover over these books, we see where they rank in these particular categories that you've chosen. Now, you'll notice that this book is listed in 3 categories, and it's possible to get your book listed in more than the 2 standard categories. And the way to do that is that you would email KDP and let them know that you want to be listed in other categories, and you would tell them what categories you want to be listed in. And I think you can give them a list of up to, I think it's 10 categories. So you'll see here with this particular book, it's ranked number 4 in children's antique and collectible books, number 6 in children's dot-to-dot activity books, and number 7 in children's maze books. But what about this best-selling book? Well, if we hover over that, we can see it ranks number 1 in children's fashion crafts. So because it's ranked number 1 in a category, it then gets awarded this little bestsellers badge. And that's essentially how you get one of these badges. You need to be ranking number 1 in one of your chosen categories. Now, all different categories on Amazon are different in that some are easier to rank number 1 in and some are harder to rank number 1 in. So if you have a category that's very popular, then understandably it'll be very hard to rank number 1 in that particular category. So it makes sense that we choose categories, initially our 2 categories, that 1 are relevant to our book and 2 are easier to get that number 1 ranking spot. But how do we do that? Well, one way is manually to go to Amazon.com, click on bestsellers at the top here on this menu. Then on the left hand side we would click on books, and now we're presented with the first step of all the categories. Now for this I'm going to choose business and money, so if we click on that it will take us deeper into the category, and you can see straight away we've got this list of books, and the number one has a bestsellers rank overall of 44,329. So to rank in this slightly broad category of business and money, we'd need our book to be ranking at lower than 44,329, and if our book gets there then it'll be at number one position and we get the little bestsellers badge. But we can go deeper within these categories, so we've got these other options here. So we'll click on accounting and we've got all these books listed, and we can go even deeper still. So let's go into bookkeeping, and you can see we've got these books here, and at number one we've got this book with a bestsellers rank of 778, which is very low, and the nearest KDP book we've got listed here has a bestsellers rank of 4,338. Now these bestsellers ranks can vary from hour to hour, and so the ranking in the categories can also change from hour to hour. So if you get that bestsellers rank, you may have it for an hour and then it disappears. It depends how low your bestsellers rank is overall. Now I know this accounting ledger book often does have a little bestsellers badge. Now it may be listed in a category. If I hover over, there we go, it's listed under financial engineering books. So if we click on that particular category, we can see here that in order to be ranked number one, you need a bestsellers rank of below 4,338, as we can see here. So it would be easier to rank in this category than it would to rank in the previous category that we just seen, where you'd need, I think it was 778 or something. So you need a very low bestsellers rank to rank number one in that category. So all the categories vary. So what you would have to do is search through all the different menus that were related to your book, drill all the way down and see which categories had the number one slot with the higher bestsellers rank, because that bestsellers rank would be easier to achieve than, say, a category where the number one has a very low bestsellers rank, which was selling a lot of books. Now we can see, if we take it this accounting ledger book, has a bestsellers rank of 4,338. If we go to this book sales calculator at tckpublishing.com and put in 4,338, we can see how many sales a month we would need to achieve that bestsellers rank. Now this is only an approximation, and it says here we'd need sales of 735 books a month, which is quite a lot of books. So you'd be needing to achieve approximately that number of sales a month, and probably more, in order to get your book ranked at number one. But as I said, not all categories are the same, and some are a lot easier. Now I've shown you a manual way to do this. Now I'm going to show you a slightly easier way to do this, but it requires investment of money, as you know a lot of these tools do that save you some time. And that tool is Publisher Rocket, and it has a category search feature. And out of all the tools I use, this is probably the best for the category search feature, for finding those categories that are easier to rank number one in. So if we go to category search and we try business and money again, so we click on check it out. Now you can see here we've got all the different categories. It tells us the bestsellers rank of the number one book, but more importantly it tells us the approximate number of books that you would need to sell per day to get that number one slot in that category. So you can see this would save quite a considerable amount of time. Rather than going to each category and drilling down, you could just look down this list and pick the one that requires the least number of sales per day to get that number one slot, which at the moment seems to be this category: books, business and money, economics, interest. I'll quickly scroll down a bit further. Oh, we've got this one at 8 sales a day at business, money, human resources, outsourcing. Oh, we've got one even lower: business and money, industry, museums. So in that case you would only need to sell 4 a day to get the #1 slot. So you can see how this would speed things up a little. But going through the Amazon page, doing the bestsellers and drilling down into the categories, I don't think is a bad thing to do. In fact, I've done that for most of the books that I've published. But this just does speed things up a little bit and gives you a good idea. Now you can see here, this category is books, business and money, industries and museums. Now the problem is you get quite a few publishers who tend to publish in categories that are not relevant to their book, and I'll show you an example of this here under Unicorn Activity Book. So if we scroll down, I'll show you a good example of a publisher doing exactly this, and I mentioned this in my last video actually, and it's this one, the Unicorn Halloween Activity Book, and if we hover over it, it's ranked #1 in the Venezuela travel guides. And in fact, if we look at the other ones, this one's ranked in at #1 in the children's literature collections. Now, I don't think a unicorn colouring book would be classed as a children's literature collection. And if we say click on it, we do have some collections of literature here, but it is littered with publishers who've managed to put their book in there, or I say manage, they've put their book into this category, and that is with really the sole reason to get that #1 slot and get the bestsellers ranks. Now, would I advise doing this? Well, the simple answer is no. The reason I say no is that it's well known that Amazon's ethos has always been to provide the best customer experience. Now you can imagine in the example I've just shown you, if someone was going to look in the category of Venezuelan travel guides and they came across the best-selling book, which is a Unicorn Activity Book, is that providing the best Amazon experience? Well, it's not. And so theoretically, if Amazon was to pull everyone up who's doing this, then there's a chance that you could get your book removed, even your account banned. Now, I know a lot of publishers and authors do this, and they've been doing it for years, ever since I've started publishing books, which was around about 2013. Publishers have been doing this, but I wouldn't recommend it. I would still try and stick to categories that are relevant to your book, just to be on the safe side. Now, that may be me being overcautious, but KDP does provide a big chunk of my monthly income, and so I'd like to keep that and not put that at risk at all. But the choice, obviously, at the end of the day is yours and what risk level you have. But I would say, as I said, just try and stick to the relevant categories, but try and find those that are easier to rank #1 in. It's still tough because most of them you do still need to sell an appreciable number of books, but certainly on a couple of my books I've got the bestsellers badge, and I think my royalties for each of those books this month will be in the region of probably around about $600 for one, and probably $300 to $400 for the other. So you don't need to be selling huge numbers, but you need to be making some sales. And so that's the first aim, really, before you start worrying too much about the bestsellers badge. Now, here's another thing. I mentioned about ranking in more than one category, and you have to contact KDP support to do that. What you might find also is when you do the manual search, or if you use a tool like Publisher Rocket, you may find that some of these categories aren't found when you look in this choose categories box on the Amazon KDP upload platform. And again, if you find these categories that are not listed here on the KDP platform, again, you can email KDP support and suggest that they put your book into those categories. And quite often they'll oblige. I've not heard of any problems with doing that. They seem to answer pretty quickly and will put your book in those categories that you request. So that's it. That's how you get one of these orange badges. Try and find relevant categories that you don't need to sell a load of books to get that #1 spot. And then if you do get that, hopefully it will help you make more sales and bring in those lovely royalties. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you found it useful. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If not, give it a thumbs down. But please do make sure you hit the subscribe button, smash that notification bell, and until next time, goodbye.